Hello, good evening, everyone. It is Thursday again. Welcome to Luci's channel. This is the show wherein we talk about anything under the sun that we feel is useful in our lives. Of course, you can only find the Luci's channel in Sustainable PH. Sustainable PH is a TV channel in Facebook and the other social media outlets, no, which talks about it's all about sustainable living, backed up by godly principles. Good evening, Kathy. How are you tonight?
I'm doing great, and I hope that our viewers are doing great as well. Good to see you, Carlo. And we have a friend who will be talking about some deep money stuff that I am not too familiar with. That's why I'm interested to learn from this guest of ours. Um, Carlo Bale, last week we had, if I may know, I'll give a recap of what happened last week. You weren't able to join us. Uh, we had a raffle actually for our viewers who watched on replay, and then on live, we just asked the viewers who were tuned in to type in the word manna, MANNA. So that's because that was the title of our episode, Manna from Heaven. So blessings in a pandemic. So we guested two chefs who have very successful businesses in this pandemic, which goes to show that we have hope during this pandemic. You can actually earn more. During this pandemic, you just need to, well, both of them said that their recipes are inspired by God, given to them during their prayer time. And I believe that can really happen. God can even send someone to give you a recipe. He uses different ways um, to talk to us, to speak to us. And yeah, so both of them inspired us really well, and they have wonderful success stories. So, Carla, would you like to introduce the topic for tonight?
Oh yeah, sure, Kathy. The title of the episode for tonight is in market crashes in a pandemic. Market crashes in a pandemic, and we will be talking about very good stuff tonight. When we talk about investments, the main question is that investors or would-be businessmen would have in their minds is um, when is the right time to invest? That is the major question there. Um, like now, we are in a pandemic. It is very times are very unstable, and the question is, but there's a saying in investment, say you buy low and then you sell high. So taking that there is a pandemic now, obviously the investment instruments are low right now. So the question is, um, should I really buy now? Should I take advantage of investing because it's a pandemic? Because I believe that they say that when the market is low, it has nowhere to go but up. But is that true? If I put my money in investments right now, where in the market is low, is it really true that it will go up sometime soon? And then later on, I can sell and I can cash in profit. So these questions, no, surrounding investments and what kind of investment instrument is best for a certain time will be answered by our guest. So um, I won't delay this anymore. We will learn a lot from him. Kathy, would you like to introduce our guest?
Yes. So our topic for tonight is good investments in a market crash. Our guest is a graduate of San Beda College from grade school to college. He is a CPA, a certified public accountant. He's a certified information management professional. He's a certified data stewards, part-time senior manager of Provide Innovative Solutions. He used to be an external auditor for Ernst and Young Philippines and internal auditor as well. And he is currently a vice president for compliance assurance in one of the multinational banks in the country. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Mars Sarmiento.
You're on mute, sir.
Sorry, sorry. Yeah, I'm so excited. So, good evening, everyone. Good evening, Kathy and Carlo. Thank you for having me tonight. And it's a pleasure for me to discuss this topic in with your audience, especially in sustainable PH.
Thank you so much, Mars. We are so happy to have you.
Oh,
Likewise.
Mars, let's say hi to our viewers who made comments. Pau, Bueno Obra
Hi.
Villanueva. I believe you know him. I know her. I know her as well. Hi, Pau. And Jennifer Aguinaldo Daria. Good evening, Sis Kathy and Sir Carlo. Hello. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Okay, so Mars, can you share with us what your knowledge on this?
Yeah, sure, Kathy. Um, just to answer Carlo, siguro, with my presentation a bit later, I'll answer a question on when is really the best time to invest. No, actually, we always say that timing the market. You time the market when you go in and when you go out. That's really true if you're a trader. But if you're an investor, what's more important is your time in the market. How long have you been in the market? So that's the two different approach there. No? For tonight, what I'm going to talk about is really not on the trading stuff, but more on the investing stuff. So it means really how long have you been in the market? That's basically the premise.
Okay, so some highfalutin stuff. I'm having brain hemorrhage.
Don't worry, Kathy. This would be very, very, not technical. I will hope. I'll try my best not to be technical about a lot of stuff tonight.
Okay, Mars, we understand that you prepared a slideshow for us so that we can better understand the dynamics of, investing.
Yes, Carlo. I prepared I prepared simple slides for our guests tonight. This would help them visualize the market crashes that happens in history. And there are certain events in history that actually made the market bleed to death. I mean, it really crashed. And what's more important is after the crash, what happened. So hopefully we'll be able to tackle that tonight. We'll be able to discuss that.
Okay, I think let's proceed with the slides. Bernice, can you put it on?
Thank you, Bernice. Thank you, Kathy and Carlos. So let me begin with an economic update. Since we're talking about market crashes and start of the new year, getting to Chinese New Year a few days from now. So TVs and even news will talk about economic update for 2021. What will happen in 2021? Well, we can say that the pandemic is over, but let's see what's going to happen in 2021. Basically, last quarter in Bloomberg, Philippine economy shrinks more than expected on weak demand. So it shrink by 8.3% in the fourth quarter. What does that mean? It's a full year contraction of 9.5%. I promise not to be very technical, but let me show this to you. You see this graph right here? In 2010 and 2019, this is 2020, our GDP or gross domestic product, basically this is the business. If you're considering Philippines as a business, this is the performance of Philippines as a business. Gross domestic product is negative 9.5. You could see it from here that the last time it happened, and the negative, more than negative 5 happened, it was in the 80s and in the 89s. So for the past few years, this has been the lowest, the 2020 for our GDP. Now let's move on. You will hear a lot of things what actually made it decline. When you talk about GDP of the Philippines or gross domestic product, let's break it down into three businesses. So basically, if you consider Philippines as a business, we have agriculture, forestry, and fishing. We also have industry and services. The main contributor of the decline was with the industry, which declines negative 9.9% in the fourth quarter. So these are the construction businesses. Part of it are the construction businesses, which has 25.3% decline in the fourth quarter. Other contributors would be the food services. The food declined by 42.79% in the fourth quarter, mainly because a lot of, because of the lockdown and things like that. And 45.2 for the services. This is where some of the services industry belongs, like banking, insurance. So this is where it belongs, 45.2. So enough of this statistics. I promise you not to be very technical this evening, but I'll just go through this. But this type of statistics, you would see this in news, you would see this in newspaper. What I'd like to do this evening is actually to give you my outlook, an economic outlook, rather than an update, right? I think it would be more beneficial and meaningful for our viewers tonight if I give you an outlook. So basically, what's an outlook? It's a point of view or a general attitude to life, right? If you're gonna use that in Scrabble, you'll get 11 points. So let me quote Jose Rizal. Ang hindi marunong lumingon sa pinanggalingan ay hindi makakarating sa paroroonan. What does that really mean? Normally, if I may be allowed to speak in Tagalog, normally ito yung pag sinasabi natin na yabang na niyan. Hindi na yan namamansin, nag-iba na yung ugali niya. That's what we normally think of when we read about this quotation from Dr. Jose Rizal. But let's give it another flavor. How about putting this quotation into another perspective? What does that mean? Those who do not remember the past are condemned to repeat it. This was said by George Santayana. He's a poet. And it was repeated again by none other than Winston Churchill. Those who fail to learn from history are doomed to repeat it. So this evening, I will show you, we'll go back a bit in history, way back in history, right? Not just in 2020. So right now, I'm showing you the different timeline in history with the different countries and the different years. What do they have in common? So you can see here we go way back in 1637, right? So let's go over this one by one. 1637, Netherlands. This is where the Dutch East India Company in 1602 was established, the first ever company in the world. You can see here in the graph, this is the Dutch India Company, the value of it. This is Apple right now. So see how big the discrepancy is between Dutch East India Company and Apple. Just a perspective. So that's where the first company was established. Also in Netherlands, that is where the first stock exchange happened, right? So when we think of Netherlands, we think of Holland. And when we think of Holland, we think of tulips, right? So these tulips, there are a lot of kind of tulips, different kinds, different variants of tulips. But did you know before there was one tulip that will rule them all, right? This tulip was called the Semper Augustus. So the color of the tulip is actually red. Now, it looks like it's flaming because of the white part of it. It's not actually organically grown. The white part is actually a virus. The tulip itself is red, but the white part is the virus. Now, why is this important? This particular tulip, before, even before all the bubbles that we know of in the market history, this was the first bubble. During in 1600 in Netherlands, if you have this tulip, it's even more expensive than a house, right? So what happened here is people tend to buy different types of tulips, and this particular tulip they want it more. And just to give you a perspective how much this tulip is, it was actually called tulip mania. But how much was this tulip? Their currency is guilders. So one bud of tulip of December Augustus in 1623 is 1,000 guilders. And in 1625, it's 3,000 guilders. So what does that mean? A carpenter, a worker there in Netherlands during 1625 earns 300 guilders a year. So that means for that carpenter to be able to buy this one bud of tulip, he needs to save up for 10 years of his salary without any expenses, right? To be able to buy just one tulip. Now in 1637, when finally, what happened here was a lot of people thinks that this particular tulip will rise in price. And because of that, a lot of people wants to buy it. And law of supply and demand, there's not many supply of this particular tulip. So the prices went skyrocketed. So the prices skyrocketed. It went high as 10,000. That's where it collapsed actually. Then people found out that there's really no value in this tulip after all. But when it collapsed, it was 10,000 guilders. How much is 10,000 guilders? So right now, if I'm going to do a direct, exchange for the guilders in 2018, sorry, it's 5,500 US dollar, just a direct exchange. But that does not include the inflation. If we're going to include the inflation, in 2018, it is estimated to be $480,000. So what they're trying to say is that one bud of tulip is more than is really expensive. It's more expensive than the house before, and maybe even a house today. It's still expensive. That's $480,000 for a bud of tulip. So I don't know which is more expensive than that. So that was the first market crash when they later found out in Netherlands that this particular tulip does not have any value after all. That's the first market crash. Now let's move on. 1929 USA. In the early 1920s, people from the United States, they think of, they were very, very optimistic about the economy in the US. They think the stock market is invincible. They buy everything. They buy houses. They buy a lot of stuff because they think that nothing bad is going to happen in the stock market. But is that true? Well, yeah, in the early 1920s, yes, it is. But in 1929, October 29 to be exact, it's called the Black Tuesday. It began crumbling down. The stock market, the New York Stock Exchange crumbles. So what happened here? A lot of people are becoming optimistic, and then they realize that the stock market really has no value after all during that time. So what happened? Market crash in 1929. Did you know that 9 million savings accounts wiped out during that era? 9 million. What does that mean? Right now, if I'm going to convert that, 13 Filipinos out of the 100 Filipinos will go to their bank. So, for example, today I have something in my bank, and then I go to the bank by tomorrow, and the money in my bank is worthless. That's basically 13 out of 100. So this is the 9 million savings account closed. And so it's big. You can just imagine how 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 difficult the situation is. We know this is the Great Depression. So lesson number one: beware of over optimism. When you talk about the market, if it's, if a lot of people are willing to jump in the bandwagon thinking that everything will go up, well, as we said, everything that goes up must comes down, and everything that's down will only go up. So in this case, beware of over optimism. I can cite a few example, apart from the market crash in 1929. There are certain instances where there would be over optimism, in some of the currencies, like the virtual currencies. But that's another topic. So that's lesson number one. Now let's move on to the history. Let's move forward. After 1999, it's in the US. Okay, so what happened there? For some of you, you might have known this. It's called the dot-com bubble. Again, it's a bubble. So in 1995, for some titos and titas here who's watching us, they know about the Netscape internet browser. Did you know that a week after Netscape internet browser was released, another internet browser was released, and it beat Netscape, and that's Internet Explorer. So during this dot-com period, a lot of companies thought of, as long as you put something in your company like .com, like pets.com, webvan.com, cosmo.com, a lot of people will invest already, but there's really no underlying values. What do I mean by that? People are pouring in investment in this company without without the company really promising anything in return. So there's really no effort for a good sale, or there's really no effort at all for the company. Most of the company owners, you would probably see that until now, a lot of company owners in startup companies, they would pay themselves hefty bonuses. They would go into vacation, ridiculous amount of bonuses. So that thing happened also in the 1995, in the 1990s. No? So what happened there? When people are trying to get out and they finally realize that, you know what, this looks like a bubble. So what they did was they created an artificial scare, which is a Y2K. And we all know this, right? For those titos and titas out there, the Y2K, that 1999, and then suddenly 2000, a lot of computers will restart and will reboot. So that's really a scare created by this company. So the intention was for investors to keep on investing in this company even without value, right? But as we all know, it's not gonna last because it's just artificial and it's all created. So lesson number two: carefully evaluate companies you will invest in. Right? So you need to carefully select each company where you will put your money in. You don't just go to the bank. You don't just join the bandwagon and put your money because you thought, or you were here with a friend, or some friend told you about that this company is really good. You really have to do your research on that company. So if you're going to put your money in a stock exchange, carefully evaluate the company you will invest in. That's lesson number two. Let's move forward. 2008, very recent. Right? So this is the financial, or the subprime crisis, right? The Great Recession. So I'll try to simplify what really happened in 2008. Basically, there are a lot of financial institution involved during that time. So let's start with the bank, the credit agency, and the insurance. Unfortunately, insurance is part of it, right? So what happened here is that the bank thought of another product. This product is actually a financial instrument composed of loans, and they sell it to investors. And obviously, in order for them to sell more to the investor, they need to have more loans. So they call this the ninja loans because these are really bad loans. The banks are loaning, giving loans to people even if they're not really capable of paying back the loans. So that's really how bad it was. So they're trying to get loans, and they're packaging it as a financial instrument and selling it to the investor. Now you might be asking me, why are the investor buying this type of bad loans or bad financial instruments if it's really bad? Because of the credit agency. The credit agency actually said, "Whoa, those are good loans. Those are good financial instruments, triple A." That's what they do. That's what they say. And what else? The insurance industry even actually ensures you that in case that bad loan, that bad investment turns out to be really bad after all, we will insure you. So basically, these are the three main financial, houses that were involved in the subprime market. Well, what actually happened then? Eventually, these people or the debtor actually were not able to pay their loans on time. So one by one, the AIAAG was closed, Lehman Brother. So those financial institutions got closed, got shut down. Right? But look at this specific, I don't want to make it more technical, but just hear me out here. This is the US market recovery after the financial crisis. I actually highlighted it in blue, my favorite color. So the red one is after 1 month. It's down by negative 7.2. After 6 months, it's down by negative 8.5. This was October 2008. After a year, it went up 9.8%. And then 3 years, it went up by 38.3%. And in 2013, 5 years after of the financial crisis, it went up as high as 102.6%. That's really a recovery. That's really, really very big. Okay, so that's just one. Now let's move on. Lesson number 3, you can get seriously, seriously rich after a market crash. What do I mean by that? The people, that's why we keep on saying the rich gets richer and the poor gets poorer, because the rich, well, not all of them, but some of the rich knows how to really, really invest. So when you talk about timing, this is the best time because there are a lot of market crashes that happens in history, and we're actually in it. So for those of you people, when previously when someone talks you through an investment, and you mentioned told them that I cannot invest at the moment because I don't have any money at today, or maybe if I should have invested years earlier, then I could have a better profit. But guess what? The market is actually allowing you to invest now, because what happened earlier is happening now. I'll get into that later. In 2020, last year, China. Let's just discuss what's the difference between epidemic. Epidemic is only local to that country or to a specific nation. Pandemic is global. Obviously, what we're experiencing right now is a pandemic. It's a global event. But it actually happened in Wuhan, in the province of Hubei, in China, with a population of 50 million. And this is COVID 2019. And COVID 2019 is just one of the many pandemic, not epidemic, but pandemic that happened in the world. And let's see, in terms of death rate, how dangerous this COVID 2019 is. Number one is the Black Death. It happened in 1346 to 1353. 75 to 200 million people died. Number two is flu in 1918. 20 to 50 million died. Number three is HIV AIDS 2005 to 2012. This is a long time. 36 million. Plague of Justinian 25 million. Antonine Plague 5 million. Asian flu 2 million. COVID, we're not even done yet. Today is just 2021. It's 2 million. But, in the horizon, you see vaccines coming in. So hopefully that would arrest the spread of COVID. But we're already at number 7 all time in terms of the deaths of all the plagues that happen in the world. I mean, in our world. So it's 2 million. But let's look at it in the stock exchange perspective, in the market. Look at this. What is the effect on the stock market? You see, on the left, we've listed down all the pandemics, the HIV, the SARS, avian flu, Ebola, MERS-CoV. This is the month end when it happened. You see here the 6 months percentage change, it's all positive in the US stock market. After 12 months, most of them are positive except for HIV and measles. And in the world market, 6 month change, most of them are positive except for HIV, pneumonic plague, and Zika virus. So with negative 0.57%. So you see, there's really not much of an impact in terms of the stock market. It's really more of, uh, just a sudden decline, but it will recover. What do I mean by that? So I'm lining up all together all the major market crashes. This is basically what's common between this year and this country. This year's 1637 is the Tulip Mania, 1929 is the Black Tuesday, 2002 is the dot-com bubble, 2008 is subprime, and 2020 is COVID. So never mind the small details here. This is basically the US stock market in 1926 to 2018. I've highlighted those market crashes that I discussed earlier. 1929, you see here, there's a dip here. In 2002, there's another dip here. In 2008, there's another dip here. But generally, you see the market is really going up. After the dip, it will go up. After the dip, it goes up. After the dip, it goes up. And it goes up even stronger than even before even the dip, before even when the dip happened. So let's look at our own market, stock exchange. In December 31, this is 2019, China reported the first case of COVID. During that time, in January 6, our market is 7,797. We're right up here. This in January, so sorry, we're right up here. And in January 30, when PH first confirmed the case, first COVID case in January 30, you see there's a dip here. From January 6 to January 30, we dipped. And in February 2, first confirmed death in Philippines, there's another dip here. And for most of you who remembered during the lockdown, last day of trading suspension, from 7,137 we dipped to 5,793.34. We're here. And in March 19, reopening of the PSEI or the stock market, we even dipped further, 4,632. So, doon sa mga nagsasabi na sana nag-invest na ako ng maaga, well, this is the time you invest because it dipped here. And first sign that Philippines is fighting back over this COVID, in March 24, the Bayanihan Heal as One Act was passed. You see, from 4,632, it went up to 5,401. 0.58 in March 24. Where are we now? I just captured, this is the PSEI index or the Philippine Stock Exchange Index. I just captured one of the mutual fund data. This is for one of the Philippine mutual fund in data. Same timeline. You see here 5.064 first confirmation. First debt, it dipped. Last trading day, it dipped. Reopening, it dipped. And then it went up by an Hill as one low. Where are we right now in 2021? I'll go back here. The last one is 5,401, March 24, 2020. Now, February 3, 2021. Where are we? We're 6,903. We're going back up. Right? So we're going back up. With the same mutual fund earlier, it's 4.7577. I don't want to bore you with the with the technical terms with this data, but let's talk about your money. Let's talk about how your money would look like if you have invested. So assuming you invested your money March 19, 2020, during that time it's 3.4155 if you're going to buy one unit of mutual fund. In February 3, 2021, it's 4.7577. There's a 39% increase. That means when you invested in, should you have invested your money 10,000 pesos last March 19, it would have already grown by 3,930. If it was 100,000 you invested in, that's 39,230. And if you are that very lucky, I mean, if you have that money of 1 million during March 19, 2020, you would have already earned passively 392,973. Right? So that's really how it works. Best time to invest is really after the market crashes. So what do we learn from that? Don't worry about the collapse. Worry about how you would take advantage of it. And if you ask me how you would take advantage of it, but let's go back first to the lessons that that I would like to share with you. Beware of over optimism. Lesson number one. Lesson number two, carefully evaluate companies you will invest in. Lesson number three, you can get seriously rich after a market crash. Lesson number four, don't worry about the collapse. Worry about how you would take advantage of it. I'd like to over deliver. I'll give you another lesson, but I'll give you a quote. This one is coming from me. You can be contented with what you have, but never be contented with who you can be. It's something to think about this evening. It's really, a lot of us are saying that, you have to be contented with what you have. I do agree with that. But, in terms of who you can be, what impact can I bring into other people's life? That's you never have to be contented with that. At least that's my that's how what I believe in. So how do you do that? You must have great whys, and a great why must be beyond money. You must be you must inspire, you must contribute to others, and a great why must make you a better person. This is lesson number 5. Be a value entrepreneur. In times right now, after the market crash, and we're going back up, become a value entrepreneur, not just become a businessman. Be a value entrepreneur. And being a value entrepreneur must have this great why. You can always have money, money will follow. But if you have this, money will just follow. So anyway, if you're going to involve yourself in a business, your business must solve a problem. My business that I am involved in right now solves a problem. What is the main problem that we are solving? More and more people are not satisfied with their financial situation. I don't know whether you agree with that, but I do believe in that. A lot of people are not satisfied with their financial situation. But our business, we have a solution. Our solution is to build a community that values the importance of financial education. it needs to start with you first. It needs to start with educating yourself and becoming set for life the soonest. You must have a target and you must achieve your target. So that's the problem. That's the solution. Okay. So yeah, basically, that's it. That's all I have. I hope you learned something from the updates that I have provided you.
Hi, Sir Mars. That was so good. We learned a lot. We learned that it. We are in this situation right now. It's a pandemic, and like what you said, uh, similar to the prior market crashes, we are in a market crash right now, and you are stating to us um, the timing, the correct timing, no, of investment that maybe if you invest now, you could multiply your investment and earn a lot. A question lang, no, Sir Mars, no? Um, uh, like what I said, no, we are in a market crash right now because of the COVID, no, pandemic to, everything is unstable. Some people say, in unstable times, you hold on to your cash. While you say naman, in unstable times, you actually invest because it could be a good opportunity for you to multiply your investment, no, to earn profit.
Yes.
Um, can you explain to us um, that it may not be right to hold on to your cash? Kasi sometimes may ganun na thinking ang tao eh. 'Di ba?
Yeah. Yeah.
When there are problems, we hoard. So, di ba, makikita mo yan, they go to the supermarket, they hoard goods. When pagkadating naman sa cash, you hoard your cash. Di ba? Kasi you're scared. Everything is unstable. So, can you kindly give us advice here so that we can be good hand stewards of our money and we can invest well? So, how...
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Carlo, for bringing that up. That's a very good question. No, a lot of people are very, they're very concerned right now. Na it's pandemic. Why would I buy, stocks now that I need my money more than ever? That's right, actually. And you hoard. It depends on what you are hoarding. Let's just say you're hoarding currency. Basically, what we're hoarding is Philippine peso or whatever currency that is, and you know that currency is it's just currency. It does not have it may have some value, but if you're going to choose, currency actually devaluates. I mean, it sometimes the value goes down. So if you hold on to, let's just give an example. Previously, when you go to a grocery, your 1,000 peso will fill up, a whole cart already. Right now, 1,000 pesos is just one item when you go to a grocery. It depends on the grocery where you're going to, but it's not really that expensive. The inflation factors in, but the investment currently, what I'm trying to say is, instead of hoarding or instead of having your cash with you, it would be better if you can create cash flow this pandemic time, so you'll have more cash. Because your cash, if you just hold on to that, it will not multiply. Unlike building a cash flow, you have you have that opportunity to have more cash after this pandemic. Just like in my example earlier, if I held on to my cash last March 19, my 1 million would still be 1 million or maybe even less because of inflation. But because I invested, my 1 million become 1.392,000. So that's a 39% increase. So,
Thank you so much, Sir Mars. Thank you
Okay,
so much.
I have a question. What you said earlier, you gave 4 tips. So the one of them is you can get seriously rich after a
yes.
market crash. So I'm interested in that. So for someone who doesn't have much investments, I want to know what your advice is. Probably can you give us 3 types of investments that you would recommend for us to have?
Yeah. First and foremost, before you go into any investment, you need to invest in yourself first, educate yourself. It's not enough. You just put. I mean, it's not enough for you to have money and put it, where the first thing of investment, you just put it there. No, you need to educate yourself what's really the proper investment. Educate yourself, what's stock exchange, what's what are the you can invest in stock exchange, you can invest in currency, you can invest in a lot of things, even business right now. But you need to educate yourself first. That's number one. Number two, if I may, whatever brings food to your, whatever, they say a good investment actually is something that brings, that's part of something that brings into your breakfast table. So like food, it's in your breakfast table. What else? The delivery of the food going to your breakfast table. What else? So those are the type of other good investment. Even in pandemic time, I know I've shown earlier that food industry went down, but during pandemic actually everything was locked down, and the essentials are food and medicine. Those are the essentials, right? So food is really, something that's really a good investment. And number three, if you're not really, you're really new and you would like to invest in stock exchange or in financial instruments, I would suggest, for beginners, although you can invest in stock on yourself, I would suggest for you to, get into mutual funds or UITF, because there are fund managers who actually look into the investment portfolio. So these are professionals that look in after which company would make the best mix, in terms of the investment. But later on, as you develop your expertise, you can move on to stock investing. Again, you invest only what you have. You don't invest everything, right? So you invest only the money that you can afford to lose. So
Okay, that's a good point. Mars, how later can you give us information on how the viewers can get in touch with you? Kasi you mentioned about mutual funds, fund managers. How maybe you can recommend to us some fund managers and give us your number so that it can be flashed on screen.
yeah.
Uh,
Um,
yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Kathy, for giving me this opportunity. Like I said, we are actually into the business of solving the financial dilemma of the Filipino people. So you can get in touch with me via our Facebook page. Provide innovative solutions. You can just search it up in the Facebook, and this is my daughter. so so you can search it up in Facebook, and you'll see it there. And you can also contact me. I can give you my number if you want to contact me. Um, Maybe you can flash it later. It's 0917-539-0509. Or you can always look me up in Facebook. My name is Mar Sarmiento, and you can send me a message there. If you have questions, I'll try my best to answer your questions.
Is this your number? This is accurate. Zero nine one
Yeah,
seven
yeah,
five three nine
that's
zero
my
five
number.
zero nine. Bernice types fast, no? Galing.
Yeah, thank you, Bernice. You you
Okay.
you got that.
Sir Mars, I have another question for you. No, actually, you explained this in your slideshow presentation, but it would be nice if you could give a parang, probably in a sentence or two. Um, you can answer this. How can we transform crash to cash?
Wow, talagang rhyme, no? Crash to cash. Yeah, rhyme, no? So, basically, right now we are in a crash, and probably we're heading to another crash. There are a lot of there are analysts that says that second quarter of this year will head to another 40% crash in the market. That's a lot, because that means that there are still businesses who is still trying to survive during 2020, but really won't be able to survive in the long run. And that's the second wave that they're trying to say. So that's the best time. How you would transform crash to cash? First of all, if you have assets right now that you can invest, you have to invest it. But again, be very, very careful in selecting the companies you would have to invest it in. Um, there are discussions about you heard about virtual currencies. Um, that's I would not recommend that virtual currencies because there's no it's really what's backing it up is only the market, what
Um,
people is willing to buy.
yung virtual currencies? Is that yung cryptocurrency? Yun ba yun?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So you
It's
don't recommend that?
well, not that, yeah, not
Not yet.
really. For me, it's like the tulip mania.
Mm.
Um, there's really no asset backing that up. It's really more on the acceptance of people who are willing to trade that cryptocurrency. But who knows? I'm, maybe in the future, the value of the cryptocurrency is basically to lower the to decentralize the exchanges, right, and to lower the bank fees. And as of now, that's how I see it. I would rather invest in companies that you really know of. Like you wouldn't want your electricity. You wouldn't want you don't have any electricity. So Meralco, that's Napocor or about SM. You know about Jollibee. Jollibee closed its stores, but they will eventually go up. I mean, they will eventually rebound. So invest on those companies that you
Mm.
patronize, you know of. So if you have cash, going back to your question, crash, now is the best time to put in the cash. So you'll have more cash after this.
Okay. I really liked what you said kanina, yung about investing on yourself, and you said that more important than money is who you are,
Yeah.
your why. So in line with that, for you, since you're a financial, what's that, financial guy, what important insights have you discovered? This is our last question for you. What important insights have you discovered during the pandemic that can guide those with little or no experience in investments?
Actually, during the pandemic, a lot of I've learned a lot of lesson because I have a lot of time during the lockdown. It's just like a reset button. We have to be in our house. Most of us are with so going back to the message, the final thought that I would like to share is one thing that I would like to share is aside from investing in yourself is really to uh, make sure that you become a value entrepreneur. It's not enough that you just invest in yourself. uh, the only realization of that is if other people would be able to get something out of your investment. So if there would be other people connected to you or maybe not even connected to you who can benefit from what you're doing, so become a value entrepreneur. That's basically what I'm trying to say, and that's what I learned from this pandemic.
All right, thank you. So I'd like to reiterate this line from you. You can be contented with what you have, but never be contented with who you can be. Kasi as you develop, yourself and become a person of value, then these things will be added onto you. You will naturally attract these blessings if you become the best version of yourself.
Yeah, and just to add, sis Kathy, you were, I mean, it happens with a purpose. You're there because God has a purpose for you. I believe in that. So you need to be the best version of yourself because God wants you to be the best version of yourself to serve other people. And in doing that, that's the only way you could be of really, really value to others. And the rewards would be a lot. Material would be there, material rewards will be there, but you really have to be of value to others.
That is right. So thank you so much. Ako maalala ko kay Mars yung value entrepreneur. Sa kanya ko lang first narinig yun, Carlo eh. So I really like that.
Yeah,
Thank
well
you,
said.
Kathy.
Thank you so much, Mars, for tonight. We learned a lot, no, when it comes to the principles in correct investing, when to invest, what instruments to choose from, how much to invest. We learned a lot. Thank you so much, and
Thank you,
you have a
Carlo.
good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. In regards to your family, thank you, Mars.
Okay, Kathy, that was really good. We learned a lot, no? This is the part of the show wherein we talk about our takeaways. Siguro I'll go first, Kathy, no? My takeaway is, it's connected to the question that I asked earlier. Sometimes, di ba, well, most of the people, when you find yourself in a market crash or in a crisis, you tend to panic and try to hoard and to hold to your cash, all your cash as much as possible. But like what we heard, no, from Sir Mars, sometimes a crisis is not a time for panic, but rather a time for opportunities. It could be a time wherein you can invest in real estate, invest in mutual funds, invest in stocks, whatever it is, you invest in it because you are buying at a low price. Now, you just have to assess when the crisis will be over. Well, regarding this COVID, there is a sign already because the vaccines have been invented and they are rolled out. So, the cure is here. It's just a matter of time. So, ganun ang sitwasyon ng COVID. So, if you were to invest now, um, pwedeng pagkatapos ng COVID, yung yung market value ng investment mo would have multiplied already. And then if you do decide to sell it during that time, there would be a big chance that you would have sold it for a profit. So yun ang maganda na natutunan natin kay Sir Mars. And he gave different examples ng iba-ibang market crashes. And all that we can see that is common to all those situations, yung tulip mania, yung iba-iba eh. Meron yung dot-com crash, meron din yung ano pa nga mga iba. Basta, iba-iba sila. The common denominator is, yes, it crashed. The market crashed. But after a while, it recovered. So if you invest during the market crash, and then later on you would have that investment, you would have that asset, and then you sell it after the crash, it may turn for you to cash. So there. And last, no, magandang sinabi ni Sir Mars, no, um, investment, it's not only about having money and then deciding to invest. It is actually pala about educating you also on the investments itself that you plan to go through. So ganun pala yon, and it makes perfect sense. So if for example you want to invest in the stock market, take time to study stock investments. Take time to study trends in stocks so that kumbaga um, kumbaga when you invest you do smart decisions ganyan, and you're guided. So, yun pala yung maganda. So, it's not simply about having the money. So, you're thinking, I have a lot of money, I'm an investor already. Hindi pala ganon. You should educate yourself. So, thank you so much. Kathy, how about you?
Yeah, tama yung sinabi mo, Carlo. Sinabi niya yun kanina dun sa points that he raised kanina. You have to carefully evaluate the companies that you will invest in kasi yung money that you have for investment, baka it might all go, mawala na, mag-evaporate siya if you don't invest in the right company or in the right, don't invest it in the right way. Um, I also like what he said, yung lesson number 4, don't worry about the collapse. Worry about how you would take advantage of it. So in line with what you said about studying these possible avenues for investments, ngayon maraming shifts in careers. That was our topic weeks ago. I think this is really a time wherein it's shaking up our status quo in a lot of ways, and even in our current careers, hindi porket yung dating alam mo, baka hindi na kasi siya applicable right now, and it might not get you to where you want to go because it's not as significant anymore as it was before. So we have to be open to changes. We have to be open to adjustments in what we're going to do right now. Yun for me. So magkakaroon tayo ng paradigm shift. As far as investing in ourselves and studying new things, we really have to do that and adapt to these new these new things that we have because of the that was brought about by this pandemic. So yeah, thank you so much again, Mars Sarmiento of Provide Marketing Solutions Incorporated, and viewers, if you are interested to learn more about investments, please get in touch with them. They have a Facebook account and just message them. Look for Mars Sarmiento or any one of them. So, Carlo, thank you. God bless you, everybody. Thanks, Bernice.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone. Great show tonight, Kathy. See you again next Thursday. Same time, 8 p.m. Ciao.
I hope for a sustainable Philippines to get to the point where we ensure ecological integrity, clean and healthy environment, where we expand economic opportunities in agriculture, fishery and forestry, and when we ensure a people-centered, clean and efficient governance. I think this is how I envision sustainable Philippines.
Hello, I am Macario SD1, an undergraduate student of De La Salle University, Manila, and I envision a sustainable Philippines where every Filipino is responsible enough to take a stand and to take action on the current state and the future fate of our country, particularly the environment and its people. I envision a sustainable Philippines where every Filipino is walking on the same path and working on the same goal, to nourish the environment and make this world a better place, not just for our own generation, but more especially for the generations to come.
A nation that is willing to work with nature to create a brighter future.
A sustainable Philippines is when every Filipino works for the good of the country, economically, socially, and environmentally, making it a better place to live in forever.
A sustainable Philippines will mean self-sufficiency in food, clean energy, and clean potable water everywhere. Plastic production, usage, and disposal will be better handled. Pollution will be at levels that do not adversely affect the health of people, animals, and plants. Lastly, the government will truly be focused on the needs of the people in all respects so that there is less waste in fuel, time, and health.
I would like to see Sustainable PH catalyze a movement of responsible stewards who conserve and preserve the rich natural resources of the Philippines so that every Filipino can have access to basic human needs of food, clothing, and shelter. so that every Filipino can have an equal opportunity to thrive and flourish in his own country, because we are Sustainable PH.
My future vision for a sustainable Philippines is that we can create loads of new jobs and a great economy from healing the planet, and the opportunity for our children to breathe clean air, have clean and fresh water, and harmony with nature.
I hope for a sustainable Philippines where everyone can have access to basic services like quality education and healthcare, and also enjoy clean air and environment, live in sustainable cities, and have decent jobs, and be protected by justice.